Right now, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gerard McAvey. I'm the Executive Marketing Manager for Milady, and I am very pleased to announce the first of our many webinar presentations for our massage therapy list. And I think that for everyone within the industry, both schools and professionals alike, these will be fantastic resources for all of you, and obviously very convenient to view at your own leisure. The very first one today that we're going to be conducting is on stone massage, and I have the pleasure to introduce Steve Cappellini, who will be facilitating the webinar today. Steve is part of the Milady family. He is one of our fantastic authors. For those of you familiar, he's the author of Massage Therapy Career Guide for Hands-On Success, as well as one of our recently published brand new titles, The Complete Spa Book for Massage Therapists. That being said, I know that Steve has a little bit of information on his background that he's going to cover, so without further ado, I will introduce everyone to Steve Cappellini.
Hello. It's good to be here and to be part of the launch of the webinar series. It's definitely the cutting edge of what education is and is going to become over the near-term future. Webinars and virtual conferences are taking the education market by storm, and it's great that Milady is getting into it with their massage line as well. So I'm equally as pleased to be a part of this line of books that's expanding and growing. And I just received a whole big shipment of Milady books that I'll be taking over to Nepal in next week and sharing with people in the only massage school in the country of Nepal. So your reach is broad and vast, and it's we're getting out there all around the world. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the chapters that's in the book that I've just completed for Milady that Gerard was talking about, which is a book for massage therapists who want to or are planning to work in spas. And the spa world, as a lot of you are aware, is changing dramatically to the point now where it's no longer spas are no longer places where people go for just pampering, quote-unquote, services. There's some really high-quality therapeutic work being done in spas by really high-quality therapists here in the U.S. and around the world. And so I'm glad to be a part of the educational process that brings people into the spa world and gives them some background and how to do that. And so this complete spa book for massage therapists is broken down into 4 different parts about the background of spas, about hydrotherapy, and about advanced techniques, massage and body service techniques, of which stone massage is one, and then the final part about working in the spa industry. So I thought it would be illustrative and interactive and fun to take something from that third part and put it on the webinar to start out with. So we have something that a lot of people are familiar with already, stone massage, but talked about specifically from that point of view as to how it's applied in spas, how therapists can use stone massage in their practice, make their practice thereby more spa-like, how to do this in a generic way, not needing to follow the philosophy or particular guidelines of any one school of thought with stone massage, but just in general, what are the therapeutic applications, how does it work, what makes it work, and why it's good for your clients. So that's been the focus. My focus throughout this, all these chapters, has been how the services, how the treatments actually work. And by work, I mean have a therapeutic effect. Because a lot of times we can all agree that massage works to some degree, but there may be some questions in our minds when we ask ourselves or when someone else asks us, these spa treatments really work, because there's a tendency to dismiss them as less therapeutic sometimes. And so stone massage, bridging the gap between massage and spa service, there in between, I think is a good example of something that we can point to showing how spa services actually do work. So my background, I've been a member of iSpa for quite a while. I went to the very first conference. That's the initial down there on the page, the first page here, iSpa, International Spa Association. I went to their first conference in 91, and there were only 120 people there. And this year I'll go to their conference in Las Vegas. There'll be over 3,000 people there because the spa industry has become large in such a short period of time, and simultaneously has become the largest single employer of massage therapists. There's many different venues for massage people to find work, but the largest single sector that hires the most people, over 300,000 total people at this point, estimates of up to 100,000 massage therapists, or high five figures, is the spa industry. And I'm down here in Florida State Massage Therapy Association member, and also NCB, TMB certified practitioner. And that's my background. This is the book, the complete spa book. And what I've done in one sense, taken hands-on knowledge years from teaching thousands of massage to Could I ask someone to put their phone on mute? I'm getting a very loud feedback from some papers rustling.
Yeah, whoever's crunkling paper, if you could press *6, that'd be great, just to put your phone on mute if you wouldn't mind. Thank you very much.
I've been a spa trainer, meaning I've sponsored and personally taught hundreds of workshops to thousands of therapists over a period of 20 years. Really grassroots, hands-on kind of stuff. How do you change a massage room into a spa room? How do you make a dry room set up so that you can offer just about all the services you can do in a great big luxury spa right there in your own massage practice? And I've gone around the country and Caribbean and Canada as well, and teaching this and hauling around all kinds of spa products and working with spa vendors, spa product suppliers, spa equipment manufacturers, stone suppliers in this particular case, all the different people that are involved in creating what makes spas in the modern day. I've worked with hands-on for years and years, and so that's what I'm bringing forward in a very simplified and also organized way in this book, and how therapists can do that for themselves and create a spa, an actual spa with very little investment. Just an investment of time and study rather than a big investment of money and equipment. It was just some basic supplies that can put together a great operable spa. So that's what's in the book. And stones in particular, if you look at them kind of philosophically, are more than just rocks when they're used in this particular manner. They're the perfect medium to introduce healing change through temperature, pressure, and time. And those three things broken down. Obviously, temperature is crucial to get the stones, and I'll talk about that in a minute to what is the right temperature. These stones in particular are ideal mediums for the the introduction of temperature to the human body because of how they're made. And they're made from the most common type of rock found on the Earth. In fact, the entire bed of the Earth's oceans, the entire ocean floor all around the Earth is made from this rock, and so it's by no means rare. It's called basalt, and it has, because of its ingredients, a very particular ability to retain heat over the long term and slowly let that heat dissipate. So it eases into your client's muscles over time and retains enough heat so that they're not cooling off too fast, but it does cool off fast enough so that they're not too hot when they're left on the skin. And I'll talk about some specific techniques for protecting the skin also here today. So that's the temperature. The pressure, they can be in different sizes and shapes, molded to the body, so with their own weight or the weight of the therapist, so that they can create a good kind of therapeutic pressure in the same sense that therapists use a good kind of pressure with their hands. Some deep, from everything from a light flowing effleurage to deep tissue, deep pressure. And time, which goes right hand in hand with the temperature, because the temperature is constantly changing over time. Just like if you drink wine and you appreciate the change of the wine over time after you've opened the bottle, the similar thing happens with the temperature of a rock over time once you apply it to the body. So temperature, pressure, and time, stones are the perfect medium to introduce those healing changes to the body. The particular stones, like I was mentioning, are basalt. They're also quite hard. There's a scale called the Mohs Scale, M-O-H-S, that measures the hardness of minerals, of stones. And diamond is the hardest, being number 10. It's a 1 to 10 scale, because no other stone or mineral can cut a diamond. It can cut everything else. It can scratch everything else. And the lower forms being like chalk and very flaky kinds of stones, level 1 or 2. Basalt is number 8, so it's only a couple steps away from the hardest kind of stone or mineral you can have. They're from a volcanic source as well, and therefore they retain the heat well, because that's where they come from. They're heat created. The rock that we use usually in stone massage, there are different kinds, but the most typical kind is found at the shores of the ocean, where the basalt has been pushed up over millennium and tumbled into smoothness by the work of waves and water, and making them perfect to apply and comfortable to apply to the skin. They're found smooth and well formed in nature because of that action of the water on them. It's interesting to note that when rocks are formed this way, when they're extruded from the underground, from volcanic sources, from magma, and they're created on the surface of the earth, they are imprinted with the magnetic energy, magnetic field of the earth at the time that they were created. So this magnetic field right there, I'm trying to highlight it for you, is recorded indelibly in the particular stone when it's filled and when it's created. And one thing I learned as I was researching more about the origin of massage stones was that this field that's indelibly imprinted in a rock when it's created can be different at different times, because the magnetic field of the earth is shifting. The poles shift. Many times they have shifted, and they will continue to shift over long periods of time, so that when the earth creates a certain set of stones a certain number of millions of years ago, they may have a completely different magnetic orientation than the stones that are being formed today. So that when you put them on the body, the way that the quartz crystals, the way that the energetic patterns of the stones are laid down in the rock itself can be and often is very different than the magnetic pattern that we experience just walking around on the earth every day today ourselves. So I found that to be quite interesting, something that can be scientifically shown to be the case and be measurable, and yet be an energetic pattern that we massage therapists like to talk about quite often as affecting the human body, but sometimes without as much scientific understanding of what we actually mean by that. So this is something that can be measured, that can be shown, that the pattern, the magnetic field of these rocks can be different and can actually be applied and experienced differently by bodies today. Different stones, older stones, have oftentimes a different field than the one we have today. Also, basalt is a mafic kind of rock. It's rich in iron, magnesium, magnetite, and so that makes it strongly magnetic as well. So anything that would affect the human body, if you've ever been inside any kind of electric or magnetic field and you can feel it, and it can be shown that you can feel it, you're conducting magnetism and electricity all the time, these rocks are doing that for you because they have pretty strong magnetic field. In my spa classes, I often have people join hands in a circle and then make a final connection between two people with a small electrode that lights up, and only when all the hands are joined together in a circle will the electrode light up the light, because bodies are actually conducting electricity and biomagnetic and magnetic energy all the time. We call that paleomagnetism, the energy's effect on the bodies. So stones are actually having paleomagnetic earth magnetism effect on human bodies, which I find to be fascinating, and I love the way the stones have that effect on people. The particular kinds of stones that we use, there are dozens of different kinds, and they depend on a few different factors and parameters for people to choose which particular stone they're going to use at any given time during a treatment. And those parameters are the area of the body the therapist is going to access. Obviously, you use a different stone on the sacrum than you would between the big toe and the second toe. It just won't fit. The size of the client, because on two different sacrums you might have two different needs for different stones, depending on the amount of flesh on the client that you have there, and the amount of muscle, the amount of how large the client is, how big the surface area is where you can put the stones. Also, the size of the therapist's hands, one thing we don't think about sometimes, and a reason why you might consider customizing any stones that you use and picking them out specifically for yourself, is hands vary quite a bit in size, and stones vary also quite a bit, and you can have a whole set of stones that might be appropriate for one therapist but not for another. And also the modality being practiced, because different types of stone massage call for different types of stones. When you have a deep tissue massage using stones, you'd use a deep tissue stone tool, which would be a little bit more oblong, longer, penetrating, rather than a rounder, flatter surface. On to the next one. These are the effects. This is one of the illustrations made by a great illustrator I worked with in this spa book that I found his input and help invaluable to graphically show what's going on when you're working, in this case, with heat and cold with stones. So the effects, obviously, stones create a local heat benefit when you're using hot stones. And the heat benefits, you can see over here, the heat penetrates in, so it does everything that heat does that we know about as massage therapists. Moves the blood towards the heat. The smaller arrows here, the blood is moving towards the heat. As the heat, the larger arrows penetrates in. So you have a heightened circulation. Everything that you want to happen in massage is being accentuated when you have stones thrown into the mix that are offering the heat. Once again, stones in a certain sense can be thought of similar to water in hydrotherapy, because the effect that's being caused in hydrotherapy is not so much just the water as it is the introduction of the heat or the cold through the medium of the water, and the same thing applies here. One of the biggest factors involved with the effectiveness of stone massage really is that it's a medium for the introduction of this temperature differential in the body. So when these hot stones are penetrating heat in and circulation's increasing, it's increasing circulation, it's relaxing those muscles, at least superficially, and having that sedative calming effect overall and on the nerves as the heat penetrates in. Cold stones, on the other hand, offer benefits of local cold, as it would be similar to an ice pack, drawing heat away from the body as the cold starts to seep in and the heat's drawn away. Simultaneously, the blood moving away, you can create retrostasis, you can create the hydrostatic effect, moving blood from one part of the body towards another. You can see that loop that's kind of formed from cold to hot, and that can be used therapeutically in stone massage as well, although it's not taken advantage of as much as it could be, by placing stones where you want circulation to move and placing cold stones where you want it to move away from. So in the case of headaches, for example, place some cold stones around the neck and drive the blood away, and hot stones at the feet to draw the blood towards the feet away from the area of congestion. Cold stones can ease inflammation and tone the muscles as the heat is drawn away. So at the same time, it's having that tonifying effect. And when you have the hot and cold stones together, you're creating some nice contrast therapy. Next, safety and sanitation. This is something that I try to push home pretty firmly at all times as people get involved with something that could be potentially harmful, like the application of hot rocks to the skin. You really have to watch, and this is specifically something that's pointed out as well for instructors as they're going through this material and giving it to their massage class. The water temperature has to be monitored, ideally with one of the small thermometers that are submersed in the water. And that water temperature is typically 128 degrees is found to be an average, but it can go from 110 up to 140 max. And then, of course, you have to offer some kind of client protection along with that, often in the form of a towel, a sheet, some kind of fabric layer between the rock and the client to begin with, especially when people are just first coming into contact with the stone and they may be a little bit unprepared for the introduction of that heat or, in other cases, the cold. The stones and the implements used during stone massage need to be constantly cleaned and sanitized so that there's no danger of any kind of infection or transmission of bacteria, disease, or uncleanliness of any kind. So this means after every treatment, every stone that's ever been used needs to be wiped and sanitized, and at the end of every day, the entire setup, meaning the stone warmer and the water, needs to be changed, and the entire basin needs to be sanitized with disinfectant. And the depth of pressure with the stones is another safety concern. Some people get over-enthusiastic when they're first using the stone, so what's very important in the preliminary education phases of using the stones, and what I like to do with people, is spend a whole segment of the educational process just in feeling the various depths that can be achieved with the stones, from very light, no pressure, the weight of the stone, all the way to using it first in a very fleshy area like the gluteus, to show how it can penetrate in and how the heat can help with that. And so I have students trade back and forth just with feeling the stones before they try to do any particular maneuvers. The first thing they do is apply it and feel it and trade back and forth so that they're feeling what they're applying at the very same time. Next, the temperature I mentioned, between 110 and 140. Below 110, you're just not going to be warm enough to get the therapeutic effect, and above 100, it's going to be difficult to handle the stones. There are a few different techniques for making it easier to handle the stones, including pinning and flipping so that you change the surface side of the stone that's coming into contact with the skin on each pass over the body. You slide one surface of the stone over the skin. As you reach the end of a maneuver, turn it over as you bring it back towards you. Also, you can use something in between your hand and the stone if it's going to be a little hot and you're going to be keeping it in contact with your hand over a longer period of time. And you want to make sure by testing it on your own skin, because it can create some damaged tissue if it's too hot and left in direct contact for too long, a stone on the skin. So a good way to test that is to test it on the inside of your own forearm before application. And it's important to remember to apply it to your skin, the inside of your forearm, for as long a period as you're going to leave it in contact with your client as well, because you can touch a stone to your skin and it feels fine for a second, but if you apply it to someone's skin for as little as 5 seconds, that could be quite a bit hotter. And so, once again, the use of the thermometer, highly recommended. The cleaning of the stones, I mentioned, use antibacterial soap if at all possible, and cleanse it with alcohol, wiping it down. Change the heater water every day. Add sterilizing solution for sanitation. At the end of the day, everything's completely turned off, washed, and started over again for the following day. Contraindications. So what in particular about stones would you want to watch out for when you're giving a treatment? Be careful with anything that has caused a neuropathy, or if the nerves have been damaged or cut somehow. Surgery could cause that sometimes, because then people wouldn't feel as much of the heat that's actually being applied, and so therefore could experience potentially some tissue damage and not know it. Same thing applies for any kind of medications that are affected by heat, as would be for contraindications for heat therapies like hydrotherapy too. So high blood pressure medications, some of those, for example. Infectious skin diseases, rashes and lesions, you have to be exercising the same cautions as you would in massage. And any skin condition aggravated by heat, anything that already looks hot, raised, red, aggravated, bumps, rashes, anything like that, could be further aggravated by the stones. The application techniques themselves fall into two broad categories. They are placing the stones on the body and holding the stones while applying massage. So those are two very, very broad categories under which all the other ones could fall. And therapists who've gotten comfortable with the technique just weave these together seamlessly back and forth to create a flow of a treatment that's using many different stone massage techniques from both categories, placing and holding, weaving them together. Placing the stones, here are a few pointers for people who want to be able to do this seamlessly and make it flow with the client's body during the procedure. It's ideal if they can be placed on the body while the client exhales, because that means that the body is collapsing somewhat, and as the body collapses, as the diaphragm contracts, and the body contracts overall and gets somewhat smaller, that means that it's time for the heat to and the stone, the object, to actually go in. And as you place the stone on the body while the person is exhaling, it's a natural kind of application. And opposite that, they should be lifted away from the body while the client inhales, and the diaphragm is expanding and the body is expanding, and it's almost pushing the stone right up. And if you watch closely while someone's inhaling, exhaling on the table with a stone on them, you can actually have the stone lift away, helped by the person's breathing pattern right there. So if you can tune into that, inhaling, exhaling, to have people naturally help you with the placement of the stones, that's going to make it much more seamless. Also, a neat thing to do is tuck stones beneath the body at key locations. This is something I like to do. Some therapists get a little uncomfortable with it because it does take a little bit more focus and attention on the heat of the stone, because they're left in close contact with the body for a longer period when they're tucked underneath the for example, under the shoulder. When someone's face up, you can have a stone that's a palm-sized stone that can be tucked under a scapula and sink into the rhomboid muscle, while the heat of the stone helps to melt that any tension in the rhomboid muscle at the same time. And the body's weight, the weight of the client's own body, is pushing, so to speak, back over the stone so that it can penetrate that much further into the muscle. So that's a nice technique. Towel can be laid underneath the erector spinae, so that and stones placed beneath it, so that when someone lies down for the first time during a stone massage, they lie down right on a whole series of stones beneath on either side of their spine. That's a nice technique. They can be placed on the energy centers of the body or chakras, and some stones are specially made to attract or accelerate or energize with different chakras. These are different semi-precious stones. Contour stones are longer and oblong, and they can be placed on someone's foot, on the sole, or they can be placed in the palm of the hand, especially nice when they're lying face down, and the palm is alongside the body face up, and the stone can be placed in it. It's very comforting. Large stones can be placed on the belly, sometimes called belly stones or grandfather stones, or when they're face down on the sacrum. Small flat stones for between the toes, and some people think that that's too much when you have too many stones in contact at one time. I've worked at various spas developing their stone massage routines, and some spas and some spa directors and some spa therapists seem to feel that having quite a number of stones, including 10 stones or 8 stones between the 10 toes, is advantageous and feels good. Others think it's too much. That's a personal call. And sometimes therapists can tap stones together for piezoelectricity, which actually can be created when stones, because of their quartz content, crystalline content in the stones, when they're tapped or wrapped together, they can create little tiny spark of electricity that can be helping align with the biomagnetic energy of the person's body as well, the client on the table. And last, as the stones cool down, they're replaced with warmer stones in a constant cycle. And sometimes people take stones out of the warmer several minutes before they're going to be applied to the body. So you have a constant cycle of hot stones in water, warm stones outside water that are starting to cool down. and then stones applied to the body itself and cool down over time. There'll be, by the way, some time for questions here at the end in a little bit. Massaging with the stones. So that was placing stones in the previous slide. Massaging with the stones, initial contact should be gradual, with just touching the back of the hand to the skin at first. When the stones are glided over the skin, it's similar to effleurage. Deep tissue massage, the stones also glide, but then there's some deeper pressure. And kneading is probably the trickiest maneuver that can be done. A petrissage with stones takes a little bit of practice, but it can be done. Smaller stones, one held in each palm while applying petrissage. Friction stones are perfect for that, adding the heat and the durability of the stone across those muscle fibers. Trigger points, there are trigger point stones, specific stones made for that are pointier. They're not sharp like a knife, but they're pointier at the end so that they can get right in on trigger points. The transferring of stones is important from hand to hand at the end of strokes. I mentioned pinning the stone to the body and flipping it at the end. On the face, there are particular kinds of stones that can be used on the face for face-specific massage, and there are smaller stones with lighter pressure. And I mentioned trading the cool ones for heated already, and cold stones can be used not just for placement, but for massage as well. The body mechanics, super important for massage therapists that are learning stone massage, because you have the tendency to focus in on the stone massage itself, on the stones, on the technique, on the mechanics of making this work with the heat and the stones, and forget about your own body mechanics. It's important to allow the stones to do the work for you, and to save your hands, your forearms, your flexors and extensors, and your forearms and your wrists. If you don't, you can really get in a bad habit of breaking your wrist and leaning into it against the stones. And in addition to that, all the same concerns as regular Swedish massage as far as body mechanics go, keeping a good posture at all times. And the pinning and flipping that I've mentioned a couple times, this is the pinning. The therapist's palm holds the stone to the body. So, and it's not a hard pressure either, because at this point right here, the wrist is still broken. As he moves the hand further down the back, the wrist won't be broken at such an angle. But here at the beginning, it's just placed on the body. It's pinned there, just as if you're just placing it there. And then flipping it, so he's taken that stone and moved it down to the base. His wrist is straightened out. As he gets to the end, the stone was lying flat down here. As it gets to the end of that maneuver, he pulls it back up so that the stone then falls over onto this surface and becomes, that side of the stone becomes the therapeutic side in contact with the body. And then as it's brought back to the head, it's going to be the warmer side, because that side has not been losing heat to the client's body. That's called pinning and flipping. So the treatment themselves can take many different forms. Spas can customize the service, add modalities to it, change ingredients, different oils, different types of products coming in contact with the skin along with the oils. Sometimes spas make custom blended oils to go with their custom stone massage protocol. And after mastering these basic protocols, I think therapists can master everything they need to in a basic massage / spa training course that can get all the basics that they need as far as therapeutic understanding, safety understanding, application understanding. But they can definitely expand their skills in workshops, because there's a lot of good workshops out there for different specific stone massage skills. And some spas actually offer more stone massage training right there on the property, so therapists can definitely take advantage of that. In summary, we've looked at the types of stones used, basalt, why it's important that this type of stone has a biomagnetic energy and a very high mineral and iron content for its magnetic qualities, a very high mineral density on the Mohs scale for its use in this particular application, the effects, the contraindications, the heat and the cold, and how it's working and helping, the safety and sanitation issues, crucial, contraindications and benefits, and how people will receive the therapeutic benefits from receiving these treatments. Techniques for massaging includes placing and moving the stones, the body mechanics, and protocol. So those are the points that I wanted to bring up. And in a typical class, we'd be going over specific stone massage techniques, hands-on. This is just a basic introduction, since it's a virtual format, to give you an idea mostly about stone massage training and training techniques. So I'd like to open this to if anyone has any questions or comments or would like to know anything more about stone massage training at this point. I guess they can put in the chat, or I don't know if that can also be on audio. You can let me know.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. I think just make sure if anyone has a question for Steve, be sure to unmute your phone. So you just want to press *6 again, and that will unmute your phone if you have a question. And if there aren't any questions, we will be posting this. We've recorded this presentation, and we are going to be posting this to our website. Also, I just put a note there. If you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, you can email us at delmar.malady@cengage.com. And I guess I'll just give you one more moment if anyone has any questions for Steve. Otherwise, we will hope everyone enjoys their day. Okay. Well, I guess we're all set. Well, thank you, everyone for joining us. Stay tuned for some webinars from our fantastic authors. We're very excited and just want to continue this form of training. So we appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and thank you so much, Steve, for putting this together for us. There's more from him, and that's about it. So stay tuned for more information on these webinars, and have a great day.